Hello my YouTube friends, Chrissy here at A Little Glam, A Lot of Mom. It's been a while since I shared one of our invitations to or provocations types of learning days. So today is all about language arts, so reading, spelling, literature, and writing activities, some inspired by the beautiful spring season, so let's jump right into it. The first setup is for my Luna girl. I shared months ago that one of our goals with Luna this year is to learn how to spell her first and last name. So for some letter recognition, I used a poster board and on it I wrote bubble letters, repeating all around the board several letters found in her name, scrambled in with some that do not belong. So I invited her to color in the bubble letters, which are parts of her name. I also laid out these sandpaper alphabet tiles which we'll trace with our fingers for a tactile experience on letter formation. Then I encourage her to do an alphabet scavenger hunt. So she will search for small objects that begin with each letter of her name. I've also set up a game of Guess Who in the living room, but I swapped out the original game cards for the Beatrix Potter set that I purchased on Etsy, and I will link it down below. Guess Who is a fun way to practice your describing words, also known as adjectives, but also for visual discrimination and logic. This is one of those board games that every member of my family can use together and no one is left behind, specifically the youngest. So by switching out the game cards, it just also keeps this game fresh and interesting. The kids practice new describing phrases and words for the woodland animal characters like pointy ears, or does your character have a fluffy tail, prickly fur? A super fun twist on a game that we love already. Next up, I have a storytelling basket here inspired by Beatrix Potter. This is a vintage thrifted basket I've had for several years, and these beautiful watercolor puppets are from the Beatrix Potter Hero set by Hearth Magic, characters from several of her most beloved classics. Play silks are a staple for storytelling setups. I also dropped some of our wooden loose parts, some animal figures, trees, and our Grimm's pebbles. I laid out a few of our Beatrix Potter books for the kids to browse through for some inspiration for their own story, or to read and then just use the basket items to retell the stories. And finally, this open-ended scene by Sarah's Silks. We love to use this as a background for storytelling and small world play. We're not doing this today, but you can also take it up a level and have the child write out the story that they've come up with or retold. It can also work as dictation, where you're copying down the story on paper for them as they're telling it to you. This morning we will also read through a few pages of our read aloud, which currently we're reading The Wind in the Willows. In our literature companion, there are discussion topics for each chapter. So this writing setup is for Bella. She will write an answer, just a sentence or two for each of the topic questions. We're also working on vocabulary, and there is a vocabulary list in the Wind in the Willows literature guide. But today, I want Bella to review these vocabulary words that we learned last year in an earthworm study. Repetition is important, and so I don't want her to forget these vocabulary words. So this is just a good way to refresh that. I printed off another copy of the word search from the Worm Learning Set by Hearth Magic. Bella loves a good word search. Bella will also search the definition for each vocabulary word in this dictionary. I want the kids to have these reference skills. But looking up definitions is also good for learning parts of speech, learning how to pronounce the word correctly, and the breakdown of syllables. So we're actually needing a good, newer, dated dictionary. This is a thrifted, outdated copy. So if you have a recommendation for one that you love, please leave it in the comments. I've set up a few activities over on the dining table for Noah. And first, I've laid out Noah's current reader. He's making his way through this I Can Read Biscuit series of books this year. And so first, he's going to read through this title, which is his current reader. By the way, I have him read each title for about a school week, so 4 days. And then we move on to the next one. And that's because I utilize these readers to teach sight words, grammar rules, and phonetic sounds, right? So I tested this method with my Bella. For an entire year, we didn't do any sight word ladders or flashcards, no phonics cards or workbooks or worksheets, just reading and pointing out words and grammar rules and highlighting and repeating stories. And by the end of her year assessment, she passed, even so as an advanced level of language arts. So I always say, if we don't do anything else today, that's fine, but we will read every day. Anyway, I've highlighted sight words he needs to become familiar with. He will use our wooden alphabet to spell out each sight word on this board. Much less mundane than a worksheet and just a deeper understanding. More than just memorization as he's building each word, and a tactile experience as he's feeling each wooden letter, its curves, and its formations. DK's Silly Sentences, a puzzle game to practice grammar, specifically building sentences and parts of speech. Noah loves this game. He gets a good laugh. I like to pair this resource with these labels on the Montessori grammar symbols. I just hand wrote these, but you can find printables on Etsy or Teachers Pay Teachers. And so he'll use these little labels to label the parts of speech in each sentence he's built. Finally, another super simple but effective spring-inspired activity here. I've placed small objects in each of these little cardboard eggs, and Noah will open up each egg and find a surprise of a small object inside, and then he's going to write out the word or name of each object. And so I was diligent in picking out objects that will challenge grammar rules he's learning at the moment. So for example, the silent E, the job of that silent E is to change the vowel to say its name, right? Words ending in AR or CK making the R or K sound. The double E, which makes the long E sound, as in green or tree. And now some of these objects he might write rock or gem, or he might choose to write green or marble or ball, and I'm okay with that. The great thing about this activity is that this can be stretched out for days simply by swapping out the small objects and then just saving this prepared on a tray, on a shelf, or on the table. And of course, a dry erase board and markers are always more fun than pencil and paper. Alright friends, I hope that you've gathered some inspiration from today's video. The main idea behind these imitation setups or provocations, call them what you will, is to encourage the children to experience learning through open-ended hands-on activities. Without too much of my guidance or a parent's guidance, we're allowing them to think and create independently, to explore these materials, build the activity further or not, dependent of their interest. As their guide or parent, I am deliberately making these activities or setups by providing the materials and a general direction, but allowing the children to take these ideas where they want.